morning. I would like to welcome y'all to CafeYPanDulce today. Bless your heart, everyone. Please let's welcome Mr. Christian Cano.
Bless your heart. Thank you, everyone.
So happy to have you here.
Hey, Christian, welcome.
Hey, Ruth, how was your vacation?
It was phenomenal.
I saw the pictures.
I shouldn't say that word anymore. I keep trying to keep that word.
I saw the pictures. Those of you guys were having a great time.
Ooh, yes, we did. I get to do a lot of things once a year without nobody judging me, pointing fingers, taking pictures at me. It's my time.
Where we go?
Good for you.
Alexa, stop. And you probably need vacation for your vacation.
Yes.
So yeah. Well,
can you tell I had a hangover?
I don't know what a hangover feels like. So, because I'm old.
Oh, Lord.
Welcome back, Ruth. Welcome everyone to CafeYPanDulce. Today is June the 26th. It is summer. Wow.
Wow.
It is incredible.
I'm so happy.
Welcome to summer. This is CafeYPanDulce. Thank you for watching us on our Facebook page live or on our social media apps later, specifically on YouTube, those who watch us on YouTube, and those who don't want to know we're watching, who watch us later on as well. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm Christian Cano. We're going to start, as we always do, on our right, because they're always right, introducing themselves while we share the page. But before, we want to welcome one and salute to CafeYPanDulce. Welcome.
Welcome. Ching, 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 ching. I like that coffee mug.
No spills.
No spills.
Great.
The laptop survives.
I did not have a chance yesterday to make it to Manola's Bakery, so we do not have Mexican pandulce today. We have American pandulce, which is multigrain and wheat. So please help yourself.
And honey.
Yes.
Honey, a local honey from Hiddenite, North Carolina, for those who suffer from allergies. So please help yourself to that as well while we're introducing. So Jenny, before you grab something, and you can because I know you're hungry because I'm starving. Tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Jenny Gunn. I represent the National Organization of Women, Charlotte. I am the Vice President of Communications. I'm also active in the Pride community as well. And I'm involved with Transgender Pride, Flourish, which is an arts event for Pride, LatinX Pride, and Charlotte Pride in general.
Excellent.
Woohoo! Welcome, Jenny. And I'm Ruth Perez, a co-host for CafeYPanDulce and a community advocate.
I'm Jeff Scott, man about town, and candidate in the 9th District.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. I am Tera Long. I am a Healthcare Justice NC advocate. I'm on the Board of Healthcare Justice and co-chair of the Legislative Committee.
I am Melba Evans, and I am the president of the National Organization for Women in the Charlotte chapter. I'm also active in a lot of other organizations such as the Latin American Coalition, Healthcare Justice, ACLU, and other social justice organizations. Thank you.
Well, welcome, ladies, and specifically the both of you who National Organization of Women. Your organization does so much work. I can tell you, you're probably one of the only organizations that doesn't just advocate for your group. I see y'all advocating for everything. It's justice, so to speak.
Yes.
So thank you for what you're doing. It's great to have you here at our table speaking with us. So let's go ahead and go around and talk about your buttons. If you have a button, if you don't want, an imaginary button, what the issue is that you want to highlight within 30 seconds.
I mean, I was going to wear my button, but I failed on putting it on very well, and I poked myself maybe. So I have a giant button right here in the center of my chest, which is the National Organization of Women. But we really support all intersectionalities. I mean, when you come to one of our meetings, it's almost like a clearinghouse of activists. Most of the people in this room I've met at an out meeting, so I started my activism journey here in Charlotte.
Awesome. I support every single button that is around town. However, as a Latinx here present today, I want to remind our Governor Cooper to veto that HB370.
Amen. Yes.
That's my button.
Excellent, and that's actually going to be our topics today. Which I didn't. We have 3 topics today. The first one is HB370. The second topic we're going to be talking about is Latinx gender equality, And the last topic is how men, if we have time on it, how men empower, treat women. So my button actually today is need to impeach. There was a wonderful need to impeach rally, or actually impeach in here in Charlotte. Don't cringe. And they're all around the country happening over the next couple of weeks. And basically the impeach rallies or the impeach ins are to educate our neighbors on the impeachment process, because a lot of people don't understand how the process works. They think when we say we want to impeach him, that means fire Trump immediately. That's not what it is. It's actually a process, the same process you and I have to do if we act up in our workplace. So, with that said, Jeff.
Well, I'm wearing my. This is a porcupine. This is the multicolored. The rainbow porcupine, which is the symbol of the Libertarian Party. And this is our Are You Tri-Curious buttons. As you know, we are in Pride Month, and there are celebrations starting throughout the state. One is in Fayetteville on Saturday, which I plan to attend. So I'll be there from 12 to 6, campaigning and talking about issues that are important to me. We won't be distributing this particular button this year at the Pride in Charlotte because some people were a little bothered by it. I think it's a very successful graphic. We just need to think of some other phrase to draw people in. Of course, tri-curious is a play on words, and it really just means thinking about third-party options. So that's how we draw people in to have a discussion about.
Jeff is being actually really polite. The Libertarian Party. No. Listen.
We can expand that. Let's keep on going on the buttons.
Go ahead. That's right.
Okay, so guys, ladies and gentlemen, what we all do when we get to Cano's house is we run to his kitchen and we raid his button jar. So Cano, as a gift to you,
You brought them.
I got you more buttons.
Hey.
I gotta bring the ones that I took on myself.
Yeah, I'm missing.
I got they, them, theirs, he, him, hers, but the she ones were all out.
Oh.
America to me, and then I will let him have my now button as well. Today I'm sporting my now button in honor of one of our most powerful advocates, Melba. So it's an honor to introduce you.
Thank you. Well, I'm wearing my NOW button as
Excellent.
president of NOW because that organization is so important to me. But this isn't a button, but it's a pen. And it is a pen that is made out of broken glass. And it symbolizes the glass ceiling that women have to break to earn power and equality. Madeleine Albright started this and has a pen much larger but very similar to this one that symbolizes the glass ceiling. So that's my button today.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that and sharing that story. I can't. Jenny and I were with each other on Saturday at the impeach, and so it's the second time I've seen Jenny. And every time we see each other, we've got like several jokes that are as I look at her, I'm thinking, okay, what joke is she thinking of?
Kristen has jokes.
He
Lots
does.
of jokes. We have to control them, stun guns and duct tape.
Exactly. So let's jump right into our first segment is HB370. So we're going to update on the status of HB370 here in North Carolina, which is a really big deal. Anybody want to give us kind of a very brief synopsis on Melba? I know you've got a little bit of
I brought a copy.
Okay.
I brought a copy of it, and this is the original, but it's where they have crossed out and changed things because they did a revised version.
Yeah.
It was in the Senate. They revised it. One of the revision, well, I believe I'm told they doubled the time that they could detain someone. And they also added that as soon as after receipt of the detainer from ICE, they immediately take you to a state judicial official to get that warrant immediately.
Okay.
So that was a change that was made, and it has been approved by the Senate, is back in the House, and will need to be approved or revised or whatever they want to do with it, and then it goes to the governor. The governor has said he does not like it, but he hasn't said he will veto it.
So 370, which is a very hot topic, it's the Amendment 1 or the HB2 of this election cycle, and as we have talked about before the show, this seems to be the standard or the operation of what the Republican Party here in North Carolina does is they create this hair on fire, as you call it, issue to help kind of bring out their base for elections and so forth. I thought what was really telling, just from my perspective, is obviously, you know, we voted for our democratically elected sheriff here in Mecklenburg County overwhelmingly, and he ran specifically on getting rid of 287G. So there should be no surprise to anyone what he did, and as I said, he's probably one of the only elected officials that's actually done exactly what he said he was going to do.
But there's also 5 other.
That's right. There are other 5 sheriffs.
Henderson, Wake, and I can't remember.
And you and I, Melba, had this conversation before. If this was such an important public safety issue, why didn't they pass this legislation 3 years ago or 4 years ago? Because there were very, very few, and there still are very, very few sheriffs around the country, but here in North Carolina participate. You may have the numbers.
It's 80, something like 85 around the country, in the whole country. And what I don't understand
Wait,
is...
are you saying 85 sheriff departments have 287? Because I think the number's closer to like 3,000 or something.
No,
They
don't.
That have opted out.
Yes.
Okay.
And a lot of the sheriff's departments in this state, why didn't they do something about this with Gaston County?
Exactly.
They're not in 287G. Cleveland County, Anson County. None of these counties have participated. So why all of a sudden now is it Charlotte, Durham, Raleigh?
Just the ones that said no.
Exactly.
Just the ones that said no.
And I know a lot of people are hesitant to say this, but I've said it very often, and these are our 7 largest counties, and they are our 7 African American sheriffs.
Yes.
Yes.
And
now, have y'all heard the state attorney
Josh Stein?
his comment, and he said that it was
Unconstitutional?
Yes, that shouldn't be
Is that-
placing it against. This is more moral, and it's taking away power of who we elected than what it really means.
Well, I'm glad to hear that he has said something.
It's taking away our power as voters
Mm-hmm.
because we vote for sheriffs based on the policies and what they believe in.
Exactly.
So they're taking away our power,
our
the people,
voice.
the power of the people is being taken away.
Yep.
Jenny, you have anything to say about 370?
Well, and immigration being a civil matter versus a criminal matter, we're tying up a law enforcement agency.
Exactly.
It's also going to detract from our local public safety. So if they're messing with something that is predominantly an ICE issue, then ICE should be using their own people, their own resources, that sort of thing, rather than using local resources, no matter where that is.
Correct.
So you have a state and federal overreach into local matters, which is highly illegal and not so much unconstitutional as it is when you have the separation of federal, state, and local authorities. They have specific roles, and when you do that, you tap their resources as well.
Exactly.
Which Mecklenburg County has very limited resources when it comes to spending money, and those inmates, no matter how long they're there, or guests, cost money. You've got and so you are causing an amazing amount of stress on already stressed county that's adding 15,000 people a year?
Wow.
Just in human beings that are moving in. We're one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the United States. It's a big ask in every way.
Yeah. So the funny thing here is that we've sort of flipped the ideological stakes, right? The conservatives tend to be the ones who bark against unfunded mandates, right? The feds, they're imposing costs on us, they're trying to bribe us or extort us with their heavy-handed intervention into local affairs. Well, here the tide has turned.
Now
The tables have turned.
Now they're the party of big government and intrusion.
That's right. That's right. When they want to impose their very authoritarian approach, they don't mind steamrolling over people. So that's a very good point. It's one we've made on this show a few times.
Exactly. Which is why I'm a Democratic libertarian.
Yeah.
Is because
Cheers.
Well, no. I mean, I didn't know I was. I didn't know I was. But
Bad
that's the reason.
Democratic.
Well, so the thing you have
Don't
to
go
be,
there.
the thing you have to be careful about though is picking sides based on what's convenient.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You have anything to add to that, or you want to?
I stand in solidarity with all of you on this issue. Please write to your legislators and let them know that this is not okay.
Sure.
And I also want to compliment Cano, because we did a press conference, was it yesterday or 2 days ago?
Monday.
2 days Monday, yeah.
And Cano spoke on behalf of Action NC on this issue to everybody, and did an excellent job representing us.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we were there to not only show our support for our sheriff, but also it was mainly people of faith and religious leaders, but also community groups as well, to ask our governor to veto this if it gets to his table, which he has insinuated he would, but he has not come out and said that. And I generally criticize our governor, our mayor, and most Democrats in power, because I want them to come out and stand. But I also understand and accept the fact that some of it is strategic.
Yes.
The reason the governor has not come out so heavily is because he doesn't want to show his hand and make it worse for the situation.
Exactly.
Now, I don't have those kind words to say about our current leadership in the city. It doesn't take a lot for our mayor and several of our city council people to come out and say, I support our sheriff, or discrimination is wrong.
Sure.
So
the county commission did that.
Yeah, yes, and speaking of that, I just remembered, speaking of county commission, I heard a rumor.
Is that a next topic?
No, but I heard a rumor.
I heard that rumor too.
Hold on a second. After this topic, we'll talk about that rumor. So does anybody else want to talk any more about this topic?
Well, I wanted to say one thing is that where is the bill? And I know it's moved to the House. Now, does it have to go in front of a committee again? Does it have to get into a committee?
It passed the Senate.
It actually gotten into a committee?
It went back to the
It's
House.
come out of committees, I believe.
Yeah, it's in the House.
I didn't know with the rewrite if it would go back in the committee.
It goes back to the House.
To the House too.
And I guess they can revise it and send it back. I mean, it
be
can
back
go
and
back
forth.
and forth.
Yeah.
And technically, the Speaker of the House could bury it too.
It's not going to.
No.
But
Don't
technically,
count on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, one of the things, those who have not had an opportunity, go. Our senator from the Mecklenburg County area, Senator Muhammad, District 38, I believe is his district. He gave a very powerful and passionate speech on the floor Monday. Please go to his website or YouTube and listen to his speech. It is one of the best speeches I've heard, and he's against 370. And it was very from the heart. It was humane, but it was also the buffoonery, or not the buffoonery, but the purpose of this bill is really to score political points from, it's not really meant for public safety. So listen to that speech. I thought he did a very, very good job of doing that.
I would just add to that his communications with voters from his Facebook page has been very good too. So he's a lawyer.
He is.
And so he's got a good grasp of the issues, I think.
But he's very engaged.
Yeah, he is very engaged. I just want to pick up on something that Jenny said about immigration being civil versus criminal. There's a lot of conservatives out there that don't understand that people like Dan Bishop are setting their hair on fire and sort of obliterating the difference between low-level infractions and high-level crimes. They want to muddy the waters. So everybody who thinks someone is here and they overstayed their visa, or they got, they had a drunk driving infraction, they're a criminal. They should be deported. So there are a lot of people that think that this is a large criminal population because of these sort of low-level things.
Sure.
Well, and they do. I call it objectify or villainize populations when they want to get rid of them or suppress them. They did that with the trans community here in the state a few years ago. Texas has been doing it for the last couple of years, not very successfully, but they have been doing it. But one of the things, and really for people to keep in mind, because you don't have to listen to the authorities when they approach you, you don't have to say nothing.
Exactly.
Right.
Keep saying that, keep realizing it is a civil matter. It is legal civil matter, and they're going to keep it a civil matter because that way they can't get a self-appointed attorney.
Correct.
Exactly.
So they're going to keep it out of the criminal courts for that very reason. So we have to remember that the conservatives are doing that on purpose. If they really were worried about public safety and with really a large population of criminals running around, they would criminalize it first because they would have another war on something.
Yeah.
And so because they don't, it's become a very, very sneaky way of gaslighting the population.
Correct.
Jenny, you must have watched our show because a month and a half ago, didn't we talk about this?
Yeah,
We said,
yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
why don't Democrats call the Republicans bluff and make being here without being here undocumented a criminal offense? Because once we make it a criminal offense, it would automatically give them representation in our courts,
Right.
and it would force them to call their bluff and to vote.
Correct.
But they don't want to because exactly what you said. They want to
Exactly.
keep it kind of
Right, and they
that way.
want a lot of discretionary power.
Yes.
They want to ramp up the fear levels, and
funding ICE.
Right, yeah, and I put this I put this squarely on the shoulders. The blame for this squarely on the shoulders of the DHS.
Sure.
So the DHS is sort
Department of Homeland
full-
Security.
yeah,
Yes.
they're like full spectrum fear inflationists.
Sure.
Yes.
Right. So
And also too, one of the big things is when you look at the stats of the immigrant population, whether they're here legally or not, there is no higher incidence of criminal infractions in that population whatsoever versus the legal residents and the legal American-born citizens.
Yep.
There is no higher incidence of crime. So it does not spike in areas like El Paso, for example,
Yeah.
living in West Texas for a long time and living in San Antonio, which we're only an hour and a half.
Hey, that's where I'm from.
oh, these texts.
I
What
know.
are you gonna do with them?
Well, I'm an expatriated Texan, so it's okay. Yeah.
Sunday.
Oh, I know. It's like, and we're weighted over here too. There's a loud part, and there's
We're on the
three.
right.
Yep.
Oh, no.
We're always
This just lived
right.
in D-Town, so there you go, the big D.
That is true. All three of you are from
Yes.
I'm
I know.
gonna move my chair.
Here's the evil empire right here. But really important is the fact that when they did the same thing with the trans community too. So I see a lot of parallels. They were saying how women weren't going to be safe. They even called the Texas bill the Women's Privacy Act.
Yes.
So they're inferring women aren't their privacy is going to be violated. That we're going to be a bunch of rapists and peeping toms.
That's what we did with HB2.
But there will also be the assumption that I'm not a woman.
Yeah.
So just the same way, whether they're legally here or not, they're still on our soil.
Well, that's-
They're still a guest of our country,
That's a
whether we invited them or not.
Jenny, that's a very important point to make because, and we've tried to share this, and next week our guest will be Mr. Snyder, who's an immigration attorney, who will be
Oh,
on
wonderful.
here.
Awesome.
And one of the things that he's been doing, and he's been working with Action and C,
That's
and
Ben, right?
yes,
Yes.
and the Latin American Coalition. He spoke with National Organization.
And
of
can I
Women
put a
as well.
plug in? He's
Yes.
also a National Organization for Women member.
Oh, excellent.
Woo!
And one of the things he's been doing, know your rights, that if ICE comes up to you, you don't actually have to answer questions unless they have a warrant. You can say simply, I prefer not to answer that, and walk away. You don't have to open the door. Be polite. They have these cards that you can give to them. They're very intimidating. Information I learned when I attended the event, 80% of the ICE handbook is how to intimidate someone into giving up their rights. And one of the things that he said, which I thought was very striking, because I carry the Constitution almost everywhere I go, and we have them on the table, is that as long as you have a foot on American soil, the Constitution protects you.
Yes.
Regardless of your citizenship, nationality, ethnicity,
Religion. anything.
non-religion, gender identity,
Right.
anything, you are protected. And that is one of the things that I think I'm very disappointed as a former Reagan supporter, as a Democrat, that the Republican Party has gone away from fighting for the Constitution.
Correct.
And it seems like the only parties that are fighting for the Constitution are the Libertarian Party, some
The Greens,
Democrats, the
some-
Greens, and
some
so
of the
forth.
Green
So
parties.
anyway, I thought that was very We need to move to our next topic.
That's
Does
right.
anyone
Before
want
you-
to add?
let me
I
do
wanna
a
add-
close-up.
I want to add one quick thing.
Sure.
Everybody needs to go to the Know Your Rights.
Yes.
Yes.
Not just undocumented people. All of us need to go.
I didn't-
Citizens need to go.
I didn't know.
Because otherwise we don't know how to help them. And
Exactly.
there have been several incidences where a citizen who had been to the Know Your Rights stepped in
Exactly.
when they saw someone being addressed
Exactly.
and told them what to do and what not to do and kept them from being detained. So everybody needs to go to those classes.
That's very important because
It is.
a lot of our Know Your Rights trainings, they're also mentioning that you as a citizen have the right to document, record,
Mhm.
take
Yes.
pictures,
Yes.
call, report, all that. While we're closing this topic, I want to make sure that everybody understand that HB370 is not the only one that is going to hurt us
Yes.
if
Okay.
it doesn't get that though.
Okay.
We're in the process right now where we're dealing with HB 135,
Which is in North Carolina as well.
which is in
Okay.
North Carolina as well. It went through yesterday.
Mhm.
It's a bill that is being brought back from 2 or 3 years ago, which it used to be HB 100, I think it was. Where they want to fine our counties and our cities if we accept some of the IDs, some of the faith
Sure.
traction IDs.
Yeah.
If we accept some of our immigrants and give them
Sure.
any support. So they're like throwing parties out there against everyone.
It seems that our immigrant, our black and brown, and our undocumented community are the gays of this
Mhm.
election cycle.
Oh yeah.
The last election
Yes.
cycle was the gays.
Absolutely.
Yes.
LGBT
Mhm.
community was being used as the
Agree.
That's their
divisiveness.
target. Yep.
And now it is, and that is why it's so important for me as a voter, but also as a person of color, to hold those who are elected, who represent my family, but also those who are running for office, accountable. I want them to speak out, and I want them to say this is wrong. And it's if they're afraid it's going to take votes away from them, then maybe they shouldn't be running for office.
Correct.
Right.
And so that is one of the reasons.
And we
I
also
wanna
need
thank
more
you.
people to run
Yes.
for General Assembly,
That's
for the
right, General
House
Assembly.
Representative. We need more
Yes, we do.
Democrats to show up.
I want to thank you for standing up for our sheriff and standing up for many communities. I want to thank our Green Party candidate who's running the special district
right.
number 9.
Yeah.
Alan Smith was
Alan
at
Smith,
the press conference as well. I wish our Republican and our Democratic nominee would also step up and say something
Yes.
as well. But
Well,
you know,
Dan
that is-
Bishop has made his views fairly,
he is
fairly,
very
clear.
He
and
is
he's,
very.
he's running a very
yes.
antagonistic campaign.
But it doesn't.
So he's-
But you know,
he
Yeah.
is fueling. He and his staff are fueling
Yeah.
a lot of this.
and we're going to leave on that. But I want to just let you know something.
Lord.
This is 25-year-old Oscar Alberto Martinez from El Salvador and his 23-year-old
Why?
daughter,
Oh, no.
Valeria. This is them. And
Oh, 3 months old.
she's 3 months
23
old,
months,
20,
okay.
24 months old. And this was them this weekend. They drowned, tried to cross the Rio Grande. Apparently he was trying to bring his family to a better life and had the baby, put the baby on the land, went back, and the baby instinctively jumped back, so he grabbed the baby and his wife went back and they drowned. And this is what Dan Bishop and Trump calls murderers and rapists and people coming over their document. These are people that are looking for a better life. There were also a family, a young baby from India that was found dead in the desert this weekend in Arizona, trying to cross as well, and also another family. So these are real people. These are not murderers and so forth. These are people that are just looking for a better life here. And I do believe that, like any important movement in the United States, that our faith community is going to be, and good people, are going to be the ones that are going to have to stand up and call this injustice out. So I just want to leave on that note.
Thank you.
So from that, I feel like the news, when they say something and they have to, and the weather. But I thought it was important to show who these people are. All right, so I understand that there is very, very important rumor that I've heard. And Tera, maybe you can help us clear this rumor. The rumor is you're going to be joining those of us who have run for office.
I am.
I can't hear it. I can't hear it. What was it?
So very quickly, because we invite everyone who's running for office. We've invited every candidate who's running the special election, 9th Congressional 9. We've invited everyone's supporters to come in and tell us why we should vote for you. Remember, our audience is Latinx and Latinx allies between the ages of 12 to 45. And anyone else who watches us, tell us who you're running for, and the bless your hearts who love us.
Okay, so a year ago, I came out here to become a legislative advocate, joining my colleagues, Jenny, Ruth, Cano, and Melba, for Medicare for All. To learn the government, I started taking pictures of all of the government officials, and that's how I met Cano. It turns out that I love events, I love listening to the people, and I love our government. So I'm thrilled to announce that I'm a candidate for County Commission at Large.
Woo!
Thank you, and thank you for making this special, y'all.
And she's also a now member.
So here's my ask. My ask is the next 6 months, because we don't actually elect until March. The next 6 months, I ask you to watch my work ethic and my relentless dedication to the community. Relentless dedication to hearing your voice, and I hope to earn your vote in March. It would be the highest honor of my life to be your public servant. Thank you.
You know, I've been very vocal about saying, and I think all of us have been very vocal about saying, when people make a decision to run for office, the sacrifice they make, and not only, but more importantly, it's so refreshing and wonderful to meet someone who has been involved in the community and then decides to run. Because so many times, especially in the privileged Charlotte, we have people who are never involved in the community and then just decide to run as if
never seen them.
And then they want us to believe that they understand what we're talking about. So thank you for being involved in the community. Thank you for remaining involved. And more importantly, thank you for asking people to see what you've done. I mean, I would hope that we do that with our 9th Congressional, our special election in the 9th, is that we look at the 4 candidates, we look at what they have done, what they're doing as they're running. Are they involved in the community? Are they attending now meetings? Are they attending meetings in general? Are they going to march in Pride? Are they going to do those things? To me, those are maybe not be big things, but those are important.
They're very important.
And you know what? Going back about a year and a half ago, I think it was, when she first started documenting, and I remember that big post that she said, I'm taking pictures. Everybody might ask, why do I take so much pictures? But I want to make sure that I document everything and I hold accountable everyone that's running for office.
That's good.
And that's a really good example for us.
So go to her page and look at the people that are actually at the events.
Yes.
But so I will tell you, now that I'm running for office, my pictures are a little bit different, but prior to all of this, for like almost a year, probably over a year, I tried to get every single government official that attended every single event. And that is something I'm very proud of, because I got Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, I got everybody. And we were all acting nice on my page.
That's a slam
temporarily.
Tera has got us all to be selfies.
Her selfie sticks.
Exactly. So,
and I will say one thing about Tera is that I can't go to an event without not seeing her. Like, and I'm like, I'm surprised you're here. You know, and she is tireless, even though she goes through a lot of personal struggles, and she works extremely hard at being engaging. So she doesn't just show up, take a couple selfies, and go, I was there.
Yeah.
This woman works her butt off. I was not going to say the other thing, but when she gets there, she's engaging. She's really listening.
Absolutely.
She is listening with intent, and that is a rare, compassionate, beautiful deal that if most leaders and most candidates actually acted that way and actually cared, what a different world we'd have
Yeah.
if
Yes.
we had people like Tera.
Yeah.
And I love you.
That's so sweet.
Congratulations.
And if y'all don't
And
know,
you're an amazing representative now, and I expect you to win. So
Yes.
there you go.
if y'all don't know where she lives, she stays on the other side of our
She lives
town.
in what we call the boonies.
going towards up,
And it's
The
Charlotte.
and it is.
It's a
But it
beautiful.
surprised me
Oh, it's a
yesterday.
beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. But I went to.
It really surprised me. I couldn't sleep. I was awake at 3:30 in the morning, and I was looking at some of the posts, and I seen you through Matt Newton's kickoff, and I seen all your pictures and videos, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she came all the way over here while there was a thunderstorm to be here.
Yes.
You know, that's very something
Yeah.
that I joined Jenny the same thing. We really hope you get that seat.
Yes.
You well deserve
And
it.
I join with you.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
Kara, you
And
have
I hope
Kyla.
you'll still talk to me when you're famous.
I will.
You have Kyla Knight. She said, "Go Tara. Where do we donate?"
Oh wow!
All
Thank you.
right.
I will
So-
definitely. I'm working on that. I'm
Working on that?
Yeah, I'm working
So
on that.
the
Thank
county
you.
commission race is in 2020, but as
Mhm.
Tara said, I mean, we've got to get through the city elections here, and they should be actually filing starting on July 5th, I believe, is a Friday. It's just when people will start filing
Right.
for
That's right.
city council,
Excuse me.
our local elections.
Commissioner.
Yeah.
And then they'll have the election on September. The primary will be September the 10th, which is the same as your
That's
general
right. Same as
election.
the general election for
And then the-
District 9.
And then the election for the city council and so forth, and mayor, will be in November.
Oh,
And then we'll immediately start the
People will be.
2020 election cycle, which will be county commission,
That's right.
Yes.
state, congressional seats all over again.
That's right.
As a matter of fact,
They will be people will be registering in December.
Yeah,
December, yeah.
we have been waiting here today for news. The Supreme Court of the United States should be ruling today on the gerrymandering of our districts here, congressional districts here in North Carolina. So it is very possible that during this show or by the end of the day, we will have a whole new district.
Yeah.
And I know Jeff don't want to hear this, but it may mean that the NC9 special election may be changing again.
Exactly.
Oh no.
And so
Well, it's a good thing I didn't spend that much money.
That's good practice.
So it's always exciting here in North Carolina,
That's
and
right.
our special election as well.
Let me just say, if you want to read about it,
Sure.
the best source for this information is what they SCOTUSblog.com,
Yeah.
and the announcement should be there.
And I do believe it might change. I do.
I do too.
Now the question is
Yeah,
whether
yeah,
it
we-
changes
we-
for this
yeah.
election.
We don't
Yeah.
know, and I intend to after the show
Mhm.
go home
Sure.
and read
Check,
about it,
yeah.
and I've prepared some written material, so I'm going to be broadcasting something out.
And you
within
know,
the
our
next
9th
48
district
hours.
is not ready to have.
So
CERN.
we're not going to talk about the 9th
Yeah,
district today because we
that's
don't
right.
even know where the 9th district is.
That's
For
right.
all I know, after today, I may be Alma Adams may be my.
I want to applaud Alma. She voted yesterday. She voted in Texas for a new bill to protect kids
Yes.
and women up
That's
in
right.
the detaining centers.
Yeah, $4.5 billion
To make
was
sure that they
approved
have
to help
food.
our.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So thank you. That's very important. Would you
Yes.
have voted for that?
I
don't want to put you on the spot.
I
don't know the details of the bill. Yeah. I mean, if it
Already
sounds
sounded like a
good.
congressman. I don't actually know. I'll have to read that. Here's my aide. Okay, let's jump because we started a little late, but we don't want to go too much over because I know you have to leave promptly. So let's talk about Latinx gender equality. This is a very important topic because within our Latinx community, and it's not the same all the way around, but I can say for my family, I can speak for my family.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a very large Latinx family. Grandfather, military, uncles, military. My grandmother on my mom's side, my dad's side was in Texas before Texas was Texas. My grandfather on my dad's side came over from Chihuahua, Mexico when he was younger and lived with his aunt in Midland, Texas, working on the oil fields. So I have a very interesting part, but I can tell you that for those who believe that in the Latinx family, I will say that the men ate at the table separately.
Had a spot.
Had a
Yes.
spot, and the women's, and then I was so proud when I sat with my uncles at the table. I thought I was this big shot, but the women ran the family. Nothing happens in our family unless it was the woman. So there was this interesting dynamic, but I will have to say that the men are probably put on a little bit of a pedestal
Absolutely.
than women, even though the women really run our family.
Says
So
the last word.
yes, so Latinx gender identity,
Equality.
equality. Just share with us what.
Well, a lot of times what happens in even in communities that are traditionally already marginalized anyway, the Latinx community, people of color, LGBT people, and then you take that rung down being female, being a second-class citizen, by being a woman in this society, as far as wages, being able to what some people will call as coding, which is, oh well, you know, they already have 2 Latina women applying for that position.
Yes.
We really don't need you to apply this time, you know. And a lot of what I call gaslighting, institutional gaslighting, you know, that's going to cause you to be on the road a lot. You know, you have kids. Well, my competitor that's applying for that job also has kids, and just because he's a man doesn't mean he doesn't have an obligation to take care of the kids. There's a lot of that. I'm trying to inoculate and control women and say it's for your best interest.
Sure.
And that's a big part of the inequity and inequality. So those 2 words mean something different. I spoke on a panel last week where we talked as much about equity. With the system, you can't have equality without throwing out some equity there, because we're not starting at the same place.
Sure.
You're not starting at the same place as a white woman of privilege. I'm not starting the same place as a straight cis woman. And so there's already an imbalance there. So we have to work in our society to not only make sure that we have laws and amendments, ERA plug, to help women, but also to make sure that their health care is taken care of. That there isn't a pink tax. You know, there's so many things that women have to use as part of their life that should be free. It should be, our society should be paying for, and it's not. One of the biggest things with Time Out Youth is women's products. We run out of them all the time for teenage girls. So there is a lot of struggles, and the workplace is the hardest thing. You know, even Anglo women, Caucasian women, whatever you want to call them, you know, are working for 80 cents on the dollar. When you get down to women of color, it drops dramatically. And then women of color that are trans are lucky to even get a job.
I was going to say, and until recently, women paid more for health care.
Yes.
And now employers are taking away and claiming it's religious rights, taking away reproductive health care
One of
for
the
women.
Melba, I'm so glad you said that, because there are a lot of people, especially when the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, passed in 2009. There were certain stages of it that occurred. One of the immediate effects was that women could not be penalized for being a woman and charged more. A lot of people don't remember how terrible, and still today, the injustice in healthcare. If you are a woman, someone who's in the hospitality business who hired and fired people, there were people above me that put pressure on us to make sure that we did not hire people that will cost us more money. And you could be as equal as you wanted to be, but at the end of the day, I was being held by my profit and loss statement, by the burden, what we call 30% burden for healthcare. With having Medicare for all, which is one of the reasons that decision is now taken away from someone who wants to try to treat people equally. I will say, I will agree with you. There were times where I hired people for hotels, and there was a part of me that said, is this person going to be able to work third shift, or is this person whatever? And I'd have to force myself to remember not to ask those questions. And I used to tell people when I would train managers, and people still are very sneaky on how they ask questions in the interview. They'll ask you questions during the interview when you come in. Well, how was your trip here? Did you have a good time parking? That's the way to find out if you have a car. So where do you did you find a place to live around here? What school do your kids go to? That's the way to find out if you have kids. And people unconsciously answer those questions. Oh, what college did you go to? That's what year did you grad? That's to determine your age. There are questions that you do not have to answer. The best way to say it is, well, thank you, we had a great time, and then just stick to those basic generic questions. Don't put the year you graduated on your resume. Don't put those kind of things, because those, when people see that, they could not. So anyway, anybody else want to add something to what she said as a Latina, Latinx woman?
It's a hard conversation, because us, like you mentioned earlier, growing up in the Latino world, we never realized that we were minority at home as women. I'm the only girl between 7 brothers. I'm the only woman between
your baseball team
by 5 boys. You know, so it's like, to me, yes, you're right. We had the last word, because everybody asked mommy for everything. But at the time when I got married to my husband, it was like he was used to his mother cooking while he was eating. And that was not my culture. So I was like, you can warm up your tortillas, because I'm eating. You know, and it's still the same. You know, now he's the chef, now he's the cook. But I haven't lived that particular time. When I moved to Charlotte, almost 23 years ago, I was young. I had just finished part of my education, and I had a good position, you know, so I kind of moved forward. So I haven't experienced that battle yet. And I say because I'm still young and I still want to go back to work, so I have not experienced it yet. But I do see, and I've heard other people that really take advantage of it. I've noticed that a lot of our Latinos, especially in the hospitality, working for hotels, they take advantage of their hours, because they don't know their rights.
Well, I can tell you, I was having this conversation with someone who was a union person here in Charlotte, how I would do everything I can to help the AFL-CIO or any union help unionize our Charlotte hotels. Because our Charlotte hotels need to prepare for the RNC 2020, first of all. Secondly, the most mistreated employee in the hotel business is the housekeepers. And they are, if you're not a union property, you could clean up to 19 to 20 rooms, which is an incredible amount of rooms, whereas a union property, you're limited to 13 to 14 rooms. Think about that, cleaning 13 to 14 rooms, and then another person has to clean 19 to 20 rooms. And you're dealing with chemicals to clean the room, you're dealing with sexual harassment, you're dealing with walking in on naked people, you're dealing with, and they do it on purpose. There's a lot of abuse that are...
And preventing your break times as well.
Exactly. And so I, as a former hospitality consultant and a hotel manager, I believe that hotels should, they work best when they unionize, and I believe Charlotte is in need of that. So anybody else want to add about Latinx gender equality?
I just wanted to say that in some situations people get into code switching. For example, I grew up in a minister's home. My dad was a Baptist preacher. You can believe I was very different at home with my parents, and I completely changed when I was hanging out with my friends.
Oh wow!
So that's code switching, and people on jobs, minorities in particular, and women try to fit in. And that's okay to a certain extent, but you can't lose yourself in it.
Correct.
I don't know if anybody watches Living Single, but the
old show Living Single?
Yes. Kayla on there had a job. She gave a beautiful presentation as a woman, African-American woman, about something at work, and she was doing it because she wanted a promotion. So she was stellar in what she did. But after the presentation, the supervisor said to her, "That was an excellent presentation, but I don't think you're going to get the promotion. It's your hair."
Wow.
Wow. It's your hair.
Well, look.
And that is common.
And she debated, do I change my hair to get this promotion?
To fit in.
Yeah, to fit in. And she came to the decision she wasn't, and she told him, this is not just a hairstyle for me. This is who I am.
Correct.
This is my heritage. So I would love the promotion, but I can't change my hairstyle.
I
You
just,
can't lose yourself in
Right.
doing
Yes.
that.
so I'm just going to make one point here about the subjectivity of labor markets, right? Of people choosing who they want to work for them.
Right.
And when I say subjectivity, that just means, you know, it means exactly what it sounds like, that people can hire you or fire you for almost any reason, and it might not necessarily be the stated
Absolutely.
reason. So I've been on both sides.
Yes.
You know, I've been hiring people, and I remember, I don't know, 30 years ago, a guy comes in and he does a perfect interview, and he's just fantastic, and I try to tell the other people that I'm working with that this guy just knocked it out of the park. He was great. And then they just had some other reasons for rejecting him, which I could never figure out. So even behind the scenes, as a person that, you know, is trying to evaluate people, you don't even know how the decision gets made. It's kind of a soup. So I know how difficult it is. You know, my daughter is 18 and she's going out and doing interviews. You know, I'm trying to explain to her this. You know, you take these steps, but in the end, you never really know if they decide they didn't like the fact. I mean, she shaves her head, so you know, they might not like that. They might try to overcome that, or whatever it is. It's very subjective. So it's not always about some kind of global discrimination. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the social system. So that's where I would take issue here. And I know we don't have a lot of time to spend on it. But
Well, I think that would maybe lead us into our last segment. Go ahead, please.
Wrap it up and then I'll.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a hard stop because my daughter literally is in school 54 minutes from here, and I have to pick her up at 12 o'clock.
Yes.
So when you're transitioning, I want to tell everybody. Okay.
Okay.
So I want to thank you for coming and thank everybody in this group because I feel really close to everybody, and thank you for making this special for me. And I just really appreciate everyone, and I'm gonna go cry now.
Let's see you Friday.
Yeah.
Well, this is an event you want me to talk about. Okay.
You're welcome to.
Tara has to go do motherly duties.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us, and congratulations once again on your announcement for running for County Commission at Large. Let's go ahead and go into our last segment, which is we originally wanted to talk about the allegations against the current allegations against our current president that recently came out, because they are the strongest of all of the allegations. But we decided to change the topic to men in power, how they treat women. So let's talk, because I think that kind of goes into what Jeff was talking about the subjectivity, about people being hired and so forth.
That's right.
So does anybody want to say anything about that, or?
Well, I'll go ahead and kick it off.
Very quickly, because we don't want to go too much over.
Right. So Chris originally wanted to talk about the idea that there are these new, rape charges, and I thought, oh, this is going to take us down this rabbit hole, about credible evidence and whether this, this one's doing a book tour clearly, so we're so we really didn't want to go down that and then talk about. This Netflix series which came out, When They See Us. I mean, it's a very dark.
Which was about Central Park 5.
About the Central Park 5. And there are references to Trump in there clearly because he had something to do with it.
He came out a full page ad saying
with the racial hysteria and the effect that I was practically in tears for the whole last episode. I mean, it was a fairly dark story. We recommend it, but see it alone. Men in power and how they treat women.
I don't think anyone would disagree that men in power do, maybe not just men, but people in power tend to treat people who are marginalized.
Well,
I
don't know. I mean, I don't think of people as marginalized. I think I try to think of people as people. Whatever it is that they're doing, right?
It's hard. I don't mean to laugh, Jeff, but it's hard for me to listen to a white guy say.
Well, the guy.
There's no problem.
No, I'm not saying it's not a problem,
Yeah.
but when you're dealing with people individually, like I'm
Sure.
sitting next to Melba here, she's a very smart, intelligent woman. We've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. I'm not thinking of her as, you know, some poor,
Sure.
put upon, marginalized person. She's very capable, very capable of
Sure.
So there's
giving
the
the
key.
message.
So there's the key.
Yeah.
You can tell she's very capable, but what if she wouldn't be capable? Will you see her the same way?
I don't assume
And
any.
do you make those same decisions with men?
Well, look, there's people evaluate other people very subjectively.
Thank you for being the
know.
guinea pig on this topic.
Well, no, I'm fine. I'm fine in that position.
I get you, because you know you're not in that position and you don't know what it feels because you don't have that type of mentality. So I get it.
That's true, but the way that women treat men and the way that men treat women is a big topic. We've only got a few minutes to talk about it, but that is a crazy big topic. You know,
I
I got a
believe-
mother, I got 3 sisters.
I do believe
But
that men's in power, when they're sitting in power, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a politician or anything. Anybody, a manager, anybody does take advantage of their own power.
But aren't women also attracted to power?
Well,
Ooh.
in a way,
Some
women
women
are.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
I
that's
do
victim
agree.
blaming too. To me,
But
I've got a big problem with that.
Uh-huh.
Huge problem.
Okay.
If a woman's attracted
This is
to
what
an
makes a great
attribute-
show.
but I don't want this point lost because
I'm gonna
what
throw
you-
the honey at you.
Get it all over
We
me.
have a full bottle.
But what you even said at the beginning before the
Yeah.
The
statement,
conversation instead.
was you were talking about an interpersonal relationship. So from you to Melba, that's an interpersonal relationship.
Yep.
So it's hard to think of all society,
Yep.
but what we're really talking about is society in general because character matters, especially. We see the after effects of electing somebody that has absolutely no character, that admitted on tape that he assaulted women, grabbed them by the, and so we have a self-admitted rapist in office.
Sure.
This isn't an accusation. He admitted to it, and it's said, yeah, I said it. You can't deny it. He was there with Billy Bush. So,
and he still downgrades the woman.
and said, hey, I'm powerful, I'm rich,
And
I can do this, I can do what I want, I'm a rock star.
And says she's not my type.
And then you know, going around, so this is a different conversation than being attracted. A woman can be attracted. It does not mean that she deserves to be raped.
Correct.
It does not mean she deserves to be marginalized or put down or denied rights. Those are two different subjects because attraction, a woman can go down the street naked, she shouldn't be raped. She shouldn't be assaulted. She shouldn't be hit. That's a different subject. And men in power, the reason why we have so much gender inequity is because men in power have created a almost unbreakable glass ceiling. And look at the difference between 2 elections. And I'm going to use my case in point. So in 1990, Ma Richards, a Democrat, was running against Clayton Williams. Clayton was leading. I mean, just winning like a champ. Was a businessman. Well-liked, very affable, created Claydesta Communications, had an oil company, charming, all that. Ma Richards was this upstart politician, had no chance of winning. Career, civil rights deal, teacher, that sort of thing. Clayton Williams tells a rape joke in front of, he said the weather's like rape, you should just lay back and enjoy it.
Oh, I remember
Right,
that.
I remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Instantly at that point, lost the election.
Right.
There was no chance of him winning. He told one joke. When we flash forward to 2016, we got a presidential candidate
Same
on
course.
tape admitting to assaulting women. It did not matter.
Didn't matter.
So our men in our society have got to protect women, including men in power, and they don't. In general, they don't.
This is
And this is why you have a whole council of white men predominantly making decisions for women. They're taking advantage of women. They're pushing us around because they lack the character. Now, not all men. You two have got character in spades. So I mean, like I have no issue with you two. But
men in power.
But men in power.
Wow.
But men in general, a lot of cis white women men are making decisions for women that they shouldn't be doing. They're using their power. They're locking up the judiciary with predominantly, look at the Kavanaugh thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Look at before that, even in federal court, where you see a feeder system where they select from law clerks.
Yeah.
You look at law enforcement, where a lot of law enforcement, when they do sex crime investigations, a lot of those are men. A lot of them don't test the rape kits because they go, oh, well, she's a server at Hooters, so she probably kind of has it coming. Was she flirting? Was she attracted to power?
Blame the
Was she
woman.
attracted? Blaming the woman. And institutionally, a lot of men say that and they don't even realize that. But it's victim blaming. It is not structuring the deal. Texas has 40,000 rape kits on its shelves right now, and they're not being tested.
And North Carolina's in the same situation.
Absolutely.
They have finally funded getting the rape
We've
kits.
had-
But sexual assault and abuse is not about sex.
Sure.
It's not about attraction. It's about power.
Which is
And-
why,
and-
which is
and
why
it
when
comes
the
from
president says
patriarchy that
she's not my type,
right.
completely.
Well, and it sounds like, well, I didn't rape her, but she wasn't my type, or maybe I would have. That's how that comes
So
off
I
to
have
me.
a
Well, she
question.
attracted, but
Sure.
Yeah.
she didn't finish.
I have a question to throw out. Do you think this is a partisan issue?
No.
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 Okay.
No.
Good.
No.
Because I was going to ask about Bill Clinton
No.
and Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, no.
No, I mean,
No,
they should
let's
also.
not that go.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we've had
Okay, that's fine.
ministers,
Yeah.
we've
Oh,
had
yeah,
police
absolutely.
officers,
That's
we've
right.
had
Okay.
school.
That's fine.
I mean, everything.
I think men in power in general, and you can take the Catholic Church with this. You can take, I mean, you can go on down the list of
Yeah,
Mormon
yeah.
Church. You can take
We have
a
own
lot
fathers.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
not
Bill
just women.
Cosby. I mean, it's
Are you
crosses
doctors?
racial
Yep.
lines.
So one
But
of
it's still
What- is it-
power
It's still power.
over a subordinate, over someone who they look at
That
as
is-
less
so you
than
are,
them.
are you saying that women in power wouldn't have the same problem?
No, they
No.
wouldn't, because it's a proven fact that they don't.
Yeah.
It's a proven fact. If you look at
No,
the
I
last 200 sexual assault cases by educators in Texas, for example, the last survey I think was from 2015 or 2016. I researched this for the SB 6 fight when I testified at Texas Congress, and there was about 200 teachers that were brought up on sex assault and sexual improprieties with students in the Texas public system. 185 of them were men.
But that's-
And that's an authority figure. So, when you say, well, women or kids or whoever is attracted to power, there also is an implicit trust. That, hey, I should be able to trust I can go to Bill Cosby's room.
Are
He's
we
safe.
only talking about sexual power over?
Power in general.
Are you saying that women in power don't abuse power?
I'm saying that the statistics prove that you're common sexual assaulters. Since
So
we're talking
we
about
are
power.
talking about sexual assault.
We're talking about sexual assault.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me bring up like Amy Klobuchar.
and we're running close. Very,
Okay,
very
they
close.
brought out that she was tough on her employees. Okay, and when it's a woman, they always use the B word to describe us. If we are a tough manager or a tough CEO,
Sure.
had that, but a man that's that way has good leadership skills.
Yeah.
Right.
And would they have even brought that up about Amy if it was a male candidate?
That's
Probably not.
That's a very good point, Melba, and that's one of the things. It's very difficult it takes work to put ourselves as a male, I understand kind of what you're saying because it takes a lot of energy and work to try to say, am I making this decision or am I looking at this person? For example, our current mayor and our current pro tem.
Yes.
They're both female. I'm not big fans of theirs. I have to reevaluate myself a lot when I criticize them and say, am I criticizing them because of
One's white or one's black.
what are they're women, whatever? But I say no. Even if they were both men in their positions,
Correct.
I still think they're both terrible.
And how long did we talk about Hillary's pantsuits?
Yes, that's
Hillary's hair.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about those things with men.
But I think it is very, very important.
double standard.
And Jeff,
Yes.
and Jeff, you just happen to be sitting here, but I do think it's very important in this NC09 special election. It's very important that we understand that we have 4 white men running for an office. Apparently there wasn't a woman that was qualified, there wasn't a person of color that was qualified. So shame on all 4 of those political parties for not trying to find something that looked like the rest of the population.
Well, I asked 3
No,
women.
because I know
3
you.
women
I know you.
to recruit
And
as a candidate for my party.
And I appreciate the fact as a candidate that you say that our Republican candidate and our Democratic candidate has never come out and said, I wish there would be more women running for office. I wish they didn't even attend the candidate forum for Mecklenburg County for the women's thing. And I think it's those are things that when people jump on me because I call them out, specifically one of them in general, when I call them out, it is so hypocritical for that individual to run servant lover ads when that person themselves' wife stays home and takes care of kids. It's very hypocritical for me to hear that person talk about this or that when that person has never come out and said, I believe women should be in the military. I believe transgender people should be in the military. So it's hard for me to, and you have not done that, but I'm just saying is that those are difficult for me to hold those. So I do think that the reason this happens is because we do have people that just remain silent. That say, I don't like that person, but I'm going to vote for him anyway because I don't like the other person. Just by saying that empowers that type of discrimination. You have other choices. You have a Libertarian, you have a Green Party, you have a Republican, and a Democrat. If you don't like what any of them stand for whatever issue you are, for me, it's about immigration, Medicare for all, HB370, standing with my sheriff. If I can't find a candidate that is willing to say racism is bad, women, I want an ERA. If I can't have a candidate say, I'm not going to vote for that person, my voice is not going to be wasted. So there are people within my own party, Democrats, who say, I don't like that person, but I just don't like Dan Bishop. You are the problem. You're the reason we have these issues. When the HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, endorsed the Democratic Party, even the candidate, when the Democratic candidate didn't even have the courtesy to march in Pride, won't even acknowledge Pride Month, believes that transgender people shouldn't be in the military, had to meet with some white LGBT people behind closed doors to kind of get their support. When you endorse that, you are endorsing, you're saying it's okay to be kind of racist and kind of bigoted because I just don't want the really bad guy. And so that's when I get to my problem. So I went on a rampage. So
that is true.
Let me share one more thing.
Sure.
Talking about women in power.
Yeah.
This is an awesome book to read. It's by Kirsten Gillibrand, who is a presidential candidate this year. But the title of it is Off the Sidelines. This is a great read on how a woman rose to power and what she went through. Now, it's not sexual, but it's the innuendos. It's things that were said to her, like after she had a baby and she came back, one of the senators, now we're talking a senator, said to her, gosh, you need to get pretty again. It's those kinds of things in our government by our leaders that was said. And she often brought her child with her to when she had to vote on something. To make sure she got there, she didn't have a sitter. So this is a great read on how to handle some situations because you can see how she handled them.
Excellent.
So I
You
highly
want to say something
recommend
before we read the Constitution quote of the week?
That's something that a lot of our men in power, even though they're married, they don't acknowledge their own wives.
Right.
They don't even say thank you for being behind them.
Let me tell you.
You know, and
Ruth, what you said is so important. We have, and I'm going to jump on this again. We have 4 people running for office in the special election 9th congressional district. 4 people running for office. One of them goes on TV all the time saying, I have 4 kids. Your kids are so important to you that you decided to run for office.
Country over party.
Country. So for me,
how about kids over country?
So for me, how can you can do whatever you want to when you're running, but don't expect me or other people to call your bull baloney out. This is not because you're looking to do something for the country.
Yeah.
You're doing it because you want a title. It's about you. It's not about the country.
Right.
It's not, because if you truly care, you'd be home with your 4 kids. His wife just had a baby, and yet that makes no. I'm not saying that people that don't have babies shouldn't.
Chris's hair is on fire.
Woo!
We're seeing it right now. You got to see it.
Yes.
But I will say, one, thank you for your input on and when I was aggressive in all what I was saying, I was not disappointed in what you said. You were really mirroring what is said by a lot of men, and there was nothing wrong with what you said.
Yeah.
It is a lot of times the opposite of love is not hate.
Yeah.
The opposite of love is apathy.
Yes.
Yes.
And apathy is what failed us in 2016. Apathy is what will fail us in the special election.
Sure.
And character does matter.
Sure.
And from what I can see and from what I know about you, your character is over and above what the other 2 candidates have. I see, or 3 candidates. I don't know the third one very well. But I do say that a lot of people need to really vet their candidates.
Sure.
Yes.
You know, because you know, a lot of times we ignore that part of it. We don't look at their work ethic.
I don't disagree with that, but you know, it's sad to say that the American voting public will put up with a lot of nonsense, and we don't look to leaders for moral leadership, right? It would be, and I don't think we should actually, which is why Chris and I kind of disagree on the impeachment thing. But having said that, I'll make my final point.
I know that.
I'll make my.
You don't approve the impeachment?
Girl, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, all on the show.
Don't get all worked up.
Don't get all worked up.
Hair on fire again.
I just want to make the point that just from a sort of a crass political calculation point of view, as chair of the local Libertarian Party, I would love to have people who are non-white males come into the party and be take their message out, and I have been trying to recruit people unsuccessfully, but I have been reaching out to people who formerly ran as Democrats and one who hasn't run for office. Well, so I've made the attempt because it is a trend. It's trend. Whatever it is, you can call it trendy. You can call it. We got to get with the times. You know, the old white guys are retiring.
And there's nothing wrong with the white guys. I'm here
LGBT,
whatever it is, whatever it is.
Can a transgender, can LGBT run into your party?
Oh my God!
Absolutely, yes.
The Libertarian Party is probably one of the most pro-LGBTQ parties,
and right from the beginning.
From the beginning,
So
and they do. That is an important point.
I need another.
Y'all don't have
I
an
need to find out what's going
anti-LGBT
on.
platform in your party.
How can you be pro?
Which I know that for a fact.
not
I've
accepting
researched
that?
it.
That's right.
The Republican Party is the only party that has an anti-LGBT platform written in their bylaws on the federal.
But they have supporters of LGBT because they're funding their candidates.
They have the log cabin Republicans. We're out of time right now, but listen. Great conversation. I wish we had longer for the show. To be continued. And please come back. This is a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Let's go ahead and quickly read our constitutional quote of the week.
But you know we're reading after all.
I'll go ahead
Jeff
and
will
read
read
it.
it.
I was going to read 26 because it was shortened to the
Okay.
point.
Okay.
I don't like the really long amendments because they're harder to read.
So we've gotten really picky on go ahead.
Amendment 26, this is July 1st, 1971. The 70s when I was starting high school.
Aww.
Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of age. Section 2. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. So, 18. But you got to keep your grades up.
That's right. That's right. And actually, many people don't know that you can.
Remember, not all 18 can vote. Felony people can't, even though they got felons at the age of 16.
Listen, we are out of time. We've run over about 7 minutes, and I want to thank everyone for their patience. I know your time is valuable.
We still have 5 years.
Everyone has things to do. Thank you so much, Melba, for
Well,
being here.
thank you for having me.
This is one of the probably
And Jenny, we're not
incredible.
done with this conversation.
Yes, y'all gotta come back.
No, we're not. No, I'll come
Y'all
back.
are welcome.
I'll come back.
But everyone who watches this show understands that we have to have conversations like this.
Yeah.
That's right.
I will say,
Absolutely.
as I'm fishing this weekend on the lake, that my fishing partner who's teaching me how to fish, I will admit that there are times that we probably, we think, oh, it's just in my, I grew up with 2 brothers and a sister, and there are times where guys will make jokes just to fit in.
Yes.
And I know that it's wrong, and I try to stick to they, we, and more not gender neutral things. In my entire professional life, I always try to use gender neutral words, and I know as a former, current, I guess technically current Lutheran, but I'd like to start going to Wedgwood Church. We've changed everything to gender neutral in our prayers and our songs and so forth.
Yes.
And it is hard to break that habit of doing it because I think it's natural in everyone's deep. I don't know. It's a tough thing.
Well, it's tough because that's how we were raised.
Yes, because
Yes.
that's what we
I mean,
brought
it's
in.
ingrained.
It's hard
It's
for
tough.
me sometimes to kind of, and we've had
Yeah,
this conversation too, to know, I know you,
Mm-hmm.
your sexual choice, and I know how to
Girl,
direct
not
to
choice.
you.
That's how it's born.
Oh, but I know how to treat you, and I know how to
I
talk to you.
know.
But then when I meet others, it's like I don't know where do I place them, and it's not that I'm
Exactly.
trying to.
All you need to do
Do
is
something.
just call me your lordship.
We got
Guys,
close
we'll
on
see
that.
y'all
On that
next
note.
Friday.
Wow.
Remember, 10
I'll give you a fist bump on
o'clock.
that. That was awesome. That was awesome.
As we close out,
I'm still learning.
as we close out, and as I go behind the director's chair to fade us out, please tell us where you're going to be this weekend. And before we
Where are we
leave,
gonna
I do
be?
want to say to please remember to always put our country over party, especially in the special election NCO9. You have 4 choices. No, you have 4 choices. You can decide to
We
vote
have
for
one
whoever.
that keeps on saying country over party and doesn't do anything.
It was my play on that. So just remember that we're all neighbors before we are all Democrats,
Yes.
Republicans, Libertarians. We all have to live with each other. And no matter how much I knock some of our candidates, they're always welcome to sit at this table. I will shake their hand. I will buy them a beer or a coffee or wine, whatever they drink, or water. I rag on our mayor all the
Psychedelics.
time. I love our mayor. I just think that anyway. So as we go out, tell us.
I'm not a neighbor.
Yes.
I'm a brother and sister
That's
because
right.
Mother Earth
Okay,
have
that's
us here.
Alexa, play Pandora.
So-
All right.
Okay.
So
I don't know
tell
what
us-
you're doing,
Where are
Jenny.
you gonna be, Jenny?
Bye.
I don't have any plans this weekend. I'm just working, so
Oh.
Nothing exciting. But we
Watching
do
the
have
debates tonight.
we do
Oh,
have
yes.
a now
Don't forget the
mixer
debates tonight.
on July 9th.
Okay.
July 9th at the Baltimore
Oh, yes.
Brewery.
Now it's got a great
So
mixer.
it's gonna be a great Women's Independence Day mixer.
Watch our page on Facebook for
Yeah.
all of our
So where
events.
are you
Ruth?
gonna be? Where are you gonna be?
I will be whoever invites me over. I don't know. Can I come fishing, learning how to fish, dude?
Yes.
No, I don't have any plans. We'll see what I do. I know I'll be watching the debate tonight.
Yes.
I'm going to be in Fayetteville on Saturday from noon to 6, so you're out in Cumberland County because it's their second annual Pride event, and it was a lot of fun last year. People
Excellent.
were just going crazy, having a great time, a lot of music, a lot of dancing, a lot of excitement. Several other candidates besides me were there last year.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
Tonight,
yeah.
tomorrow night, I'll be watching the debates from
Yes.
row seat, and on Sunday I'll be at Wedgwood Church. Come and join us.
Thank you.
I will be watching the debate tonight. I'm not sure with the Young Democrats. I know they're having a big event to watch it. I
They
think
are. They're having a watch
somewhere.
party.
There's also people around the country that are having Bernie Sanders debate watching parties.
Yes.
All around
Oh,
the
I
country
was
as well.
invited for Friday in Rock Hill.
Yes.
One of the ladies.
Yeah. So,
Lot
but
of
this
watch
weekend I'm sure I'll be
parties around.
fishing. But everyone,
Yes.
please thank you for joining us. And as we go out, just wave.
Bye.